This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, hi guys. Today's agenda is to perform some transformations or some operations on top of data frames in Spark. And to practice Spark, we are going to use Databricks Community Edition. So it's pretty simple, as I've told in the previous session. So just search for Databricks Community Edition and then click on the first link. So once you have the account created, you just have to enter your email address and then password, and then click on sign in button. So uh, first step is you have to create a cluster on Databricks. Only then you can do anything. So on the left hand side, you can actually click on compute. Click on compute on the left hand side, and then you can just click on create compute button, the blue color button. Click on it. So here you have to give some name. Let's say I would like to give the name as Databricks cluster, but any name is fine. Then just click on create cluster button. So it should uh, ideally take just 2 minutes minimum, but sometimes depending on the cluster capacity, depending on the load and all that, it might take more time. But you can see the cluster creation is in progress right now. You have to wait for 2 minutes minimum, 5 minutes maximum. Within that time, you should be able to see the cluster getting created. So let's give it some time. Let's give it 2 more minutes.
Hey, hi, Vamsi.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me, Lakshmi.
Yeah, actually, when we start a cluster, uh, so
Uh-huh.
uh, okay, I have created a cluster now. The next day, when I try to, open the notes, the notebook, and can I use the same cluster? Because today, when I was trying to use the same cluster, it was like the cluster is not able to start again. Actually, it was not working, so I had to create a new cluster and work on it.
Correct. That is correct. Because the reason is, if
Mm.
you can see this message here, read this point. Your cluster will automatically terminate after an ideal period of 2 hours. That is, if you
Oh,
don't use this cluster for 2 hours, then it will be terminated automatically because they're giving it for free, right? So
right.
hence they are not going to keep it as it is if you're not using it. So they'll wait for 2 hours. If you're not using it, they're going to terminate it. But good thing is you're not losing any data or any notebook. Everything remains as it is. Only thing that you may have to do is on the next day or whenever you practice next time, you just have to create the cluster. That's it.
Okay,
Just
and
leave
one
it
more.
for.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I got that. One more thing is like, see, now I have uploaded the information about the orders, data, and everything. So once I have
Hmm.
uploaded any other cluster also, I would be able to retrieve that again into the new cluster, right? I don't have to upload it again.
No, no, no. Data remains same as it is. You don't
Okay.
need to do anything else.
Yeah, that worked for me. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's what.
Sure. And also one interesting thing is, suppose if you are curious to know whether you have the data already available or not, you can actually see figure it out. So on the left hand side, go to data, create table here, and click on DBFS, and you have to figure out the exact path. So file store, I think tables. You can see all the these are my previous data. So where I have uploaded some in April and so on, you can see all the data is still available. So that's where to double check whether you have the data available or not, you can come here and then verify. Right? That is one way. Second way is you try to do head command on it, right? If you use head command with the exact path, it should show the content for you. So those are the couple of ways using which you can figure out whether you have the data available or not. If it is
I
not
have one.
available, then, go
Yeah.
ahead, go ahead.
I know it may be a silly question, but I just want to get it clarified. Actually,
Mhm.
when we are doing the spark.read.csv, I tried doing the same without using the format for all the other, the employee and other, I mean, data also, but it was working. I could even still retrieve the data for along with the fields and everything. So this format,
Mhm.
JSON and everything, whatever we are writing, like dot format, the JSON,
Mhm.
is it a mandatory thing, or like it is just for the understanding that we are just using that for multiple
So
things?
basically, those are the two different ways of creating data frame. So for now, you can go with whatever you feel like comfortable, but as the industry best practice, we generally go with dot format option because that gives you more flexibility and that gives you more way to modelize your code and maintain your code in a better way.
Okay,
So
that's
yes, these are exactly same, no performance difference, but the preferred choice is to go with dot format.
okay. That's what I tried for everything, and I could see the same result
Yes,
coming
it
out. So,
works.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Exactly, it works the same way. Yeah.
Thank
Okay, now let's go back to the computer on the left hand side. So it's still taking some time because it may take time because the reason is understand that this is a free cluster that they're going to provide us. So it may take some time. As I told, it should not take more than 5 minutes. So sometimes just refresh the browser. It should also show the correct status. Refresh your browser once. It's still taking time. That's absolutely fine. Now we'll leave it out as it is for 2 minutes. Meanwhile, what you can do is you can create a notebook for today's session. So on the left hand side, go to workspace, click on the workspace, click on users, and click on your email ID. Basically, right click, create. Let's say notebook. So we'll do some operations on data frames today. So let's say df operations. Let's say December 2022. So you can see the default language is Python, and the cluster is nothing but the cluster that we are trying to create. You can see it is still in progress, but it will be connected automatically once it is back to the up and running state. Click on create button, and you can see the cluster is also created. To confirm, on the top right corner you can see it's showing us green color mark. Also to confirm, you can actually go to compute on the left hand side. You can see that the cluster is in the green state, I mean the running state. Right now you can go ahead from here. So today's is a very very important interview question. uh, I'll start with that. So the interview question goes this way. So they will directly ask you to write word count by using Spark data frames. This is straightforward way, but they'll ask you indirect question also. I have a file. I have a file with some content. I have a file with some content, and I want to figure out, or I wanted to know the top five occurring words in that file. Top five occurring words in that file, or let's say top five repeating words also. Top five repeating words in that file. Top five repeating words in that file. This is a very interesting question and very important as well, because when I take the interviews, this is the first question that I'm going to ask, because this will give me a clear idea whether the person have really worked in Spark or not. And this is very very important question. You cannot ignore this at all, especially when you're going for interview. You have to be thorough with this. So now let's see how to solve this problem. So again, I'm going to use the same data that I've used earlier. So I will show the data. So it's in my C drive data folder. It's a pretty simple file. So it's a very simple file. You can see that this is the file, right? So you can see here clearly I have hello is repeating 5 times, and world is repeating 4 times, and fine is repeating 3 times, and so on. So let's upload this file. So on the left hand side, click on data, create table. Let's say December 2022 underscore data. So you can upload the file here. Click to browse, and then go to your C drive data folder, and then search for the file name. File name is sample.txt. So upload the file here, and again you're not sure whether you have uploaded the file or not. Let's go to this path. You should be able to see that file. So go to data. So you are already in data, right? Okay. So click on DBFS tab here. DBFS stands for Databricks File System. So click on File Store Tables, and then the folder name that I've created is nothing but December 2022. Where is that? 1 minute. Okay, 1 minute. I think should be there. Maybe. Second. Let me scroll a little down. See here, this is where I have the directory, right? You can see the sample.txt also, right? In my case, I have a lot of data because I'm using it from last 3-4 years. But in your case, you should have pretty simple data or pretty less data. So an interesting thing is if you can click on that file on the bottom left corner or here, you should be able to figure out the exact path also. So just copy the path, Control C, copy it, and click on recents, click on the top notebook, data frame operations December 2022. So that's how you can figure it out whether you have the data uploaded or not, and you can get the path also. Now let's actually look at the data. Percentage fs space head, check the contents. So look at the contents of the file. That is important, very important. So if you don't look at the data and if you directly create the data frame, there will be some problems. So I always prefer to look at the data before creating any data frame. So you can see that this was the data that I'm looking for. Now we'll go ahead and create the data frame. Let's say sample df equal to argsession dot read dot format that I'm going to mention is text file format dot load and mention the full path of the file. 1 second, I think I haven't copied it. Let's copy again. So let's break it down into multiple lines. Make sure the dot goes to the next line because this is the format or this is the standard that we follow in the projects. Also in the same cell, you can display the content. So display is the command that works only on Databricks. So which is used to see the content. So look at the contents of this data frame. You can see that the contents are looking good, right? But suppose let's say if you wanted to rename the file, rename the column name, by default, it is showing as value, right? But if you want to change the column name also, you can do that by saying dot to df. Let's say lines. Lines is the name that I would like to give. Let's run it again. Now you can see the column name is showing as lines, right? So that is how you can change the name also by doing dot to df. Now always try to think about the problem statement. So here we need to figure out the number of times each and every word is repeating, right? So but now if you look at the content, we don't have the content in the form of words, we have the content in the form of sentences or lines. So somehow we have to break it down, right? So how do we break it down? So we can break it down by using split function. We can break it down by using split function. So we can just use split function. So let's use that. So split df equal to so sample df dot select, and the function name is split function. So split function takes two things as input. One is the column name. Second one is nothing but the delimiter or separator. So here the column name is nothing but lines, right? I'm going to mention the column name as lines. And the second parameter is nothing but the delimiter or separator. Here every word is separated by space. I'm going to give space as the delimiter or separator. Now if you run it, it will fail because the reason is split is a function and you have to import it from org dot from okay, I don't remember it 1 minute, from spark.sql dot functions import split function. Let's run it again. Why is it showing this no module font? I don't recollect it right now. 1 minute. One second. So if you don't recollect it, it's pretty simple. So it says Spark functions import statement. That's it. So even I know it's very tough for anybody to remember everything. So just use Google and just use the documentation, right? If you can open the documentation, you will find some hint. Right? Just say Control F and then split. So from PySpark.sql, okay, I think the mistake that I made was I had to use from PySpark.sql.function. Should be fine now. Now there are no errors, no complaints, so we are good. Again, it's very tough for everybody to remember everything. So that's where you have to use Google quite a lot. That is another secret, right? So now we have the data frame created, but how to see the data frame? On Databricks, you can just say display and then the data frame name. You should be able to look at the contents, right? So now understanding the schema is very important, right? If you look at the schema of this data frame, how to look at the schema? By using the data frame name dot print schema. So this will give the list of all the column names and what are the respective data types. Look at the column name, it's showing as this weird column name and it is of array of string type. Now I wanted to change this. I don't want to go with this name. To change the name, you can use dot alias. Let's call dot alias and let's give it as words. And I'm going to rerun these cells again. Now have a look at the name and the column name has been changed to words and it is of array of strings. That is, this is an array and each element is of string type. And if you remember when we learned about functions in Python, we learned about split function, right? So what have we learned? The output from split function is nothing but a list or an array. Let me write it here. So if we talk about split function, so input is nothing but a string, right? Because if you can go back and you can add a cell in between. So how to add a cell in between? Place your mouse pointer in the middle, you'll see a plus button, click on it. So let's use the data frame name sample df dot print schema. So here if you can look, lines is nothing but string type, right? So that's what I mentioned here. And what is the output that we are getting? Output is nothing but array. Let's say in this example it is array of strings, but generally it is array, right? Array of elements. It could be of any type, integer, string, and all that. So you can have a look here. So it is basically the array that we're going to get as output from a split function. But this is not enough. So we have to just break it even further so that we can get all the individual words out of it. So this is where I'm going to use another interesting function called as explode. Explode df equal to split df dot select explode the syntax of explode is it takes only one parameter, which is nothing but the column name. So in this case, what's the column name? Column name is nothing but words, and I'm going to mention the same. And then if you run it, it will fail again, because the reason is explode is also a function. You have to import that. So from PySpark PySpark.sql functions import explode function. Let's run it again. So there are no errors. So let's try to do display on that command, display on the data frame. Have a look here. We have the column name. We, of course, the output from explode is nothing but a word. So explode input is nothing but array of strings, on output is nothing but a string. So this is very important. Again, I have seen some of the interviewers asking this question. So what is the input for split? What is output for output from split? What is the input for explode? What is the output for explode? You have to remember this, right? Have a look here. We are getting all the. So what explode does is, so it will take each and every array and it will give you, and it will break it down. It will give you the elements or the words in this form. So that is what is called the explode. But again, look at the column name. It's showing as call. So I want to fix that. Instead of call, a generic name, I want to give it a specific name. Let's say I would like to give it as alias, and then let's give the name as word. So let's rerun it again. So now you can see the column name is showing as word, right? But again, this is important. So any questions till now? Are we good? Are we good so far till here? Okay, I think we are good. So now we are able to get all the individual words, but let's also fix the column name. Okay, I think we already fixed it. So let's look at the schema. So data frame name dot print schema. So you can see the column name is showing as word and it is of string type. We are not done yet. So we have just got only the individual words. So we need to figure out the word count. So to figure out the word count, we have to group it. We have to group the elements. Let's say I would like to give the name as aggdf, aggregated df equal to explode df dot group by, and group it based on what? Group it based on this column called as word column. Dot count. So in the same cell you can display the data frame aggdf. Now have a look here. We are getting the counts also now. You can see that uv is repeating 2 times, fine is repeating 3 times, hello is repeating 5 times, and so on. This is what is expected. But if you look at the problem statement, we are not done yet. Right? If you can see here, I want the top 5 occurring words from that file. Suppose if that file contains 1000 lines, and if I have to figure out the top 5 occurring words, what should I do? I should basically sort it based on the count column. Otherwise, the most repeating word might be somewhere else. I don't know, right? So that's where what we should be doing is we should sort it now. So let's sort the data frame. Let's say sorted df equal to aggdf dot sort. I have to use order by and then column name count. Let's display sorted df. Now have a look here. We are getting the output, but again, I see there is one problem, right? So what is the problem here? The problem here is it is sorting in the ascending order, right? Because you can see it's showing all the words which are repeating only once. But this is not what I'm looking for. I'm wanted to get the top five occurring words. So that's where I have to sort it in the descending order, right? I have to sort it in the descending order. So to sort it in the descending order, I'm going to use a function called as DESC. Run it because DESC is a function, hence you have to import it from PySpark.sql.functions import DESC. Run it again. Now there are no errors. Now you can see the output. It is sorting in the descending order. Hello is occurring 5 times, world is occurring 4 times, fine is occurring 3 times, and so on. Again, we are not done yet because the reason is, look at the problem statement. I wanted to get only the top 5 occurring words, right? But here we're getting everything, right? That file may contain, let's say, 100 lines with 1000 words totally. I don't want to see all that. I just want to see only top 5 occurring words. So here I still have to limit it by using limit. So limit 5 so that it can get me only top 5 occurring words, right? You can see that now I'm getting top 5 occurring words. Hello is the word which is repeating most number of times with 5 times. World is the next one with 4 times it's repeating, and so on. This is very important example. I'll tell you the reason why. Because here the interviewer is going to test you most of the things. So here interviewer will understand whether you know how to create a data frame or not. Because a lot of times I've seen that candidates making one mistake when I take the interview. So they don't know how to create a data frame and how to create RDD also. Because a lot of people say that okay, we use Spark context to create the data frame. No, right? So we should use Spark session to create a data frame and Spark context to create an RDD. And many people, whenever I have taken a lot of interviews also. So they are not even aware of this. So you have to be very clear and thorough with this example because it will test you in many ways, right? So here you have to understand about how to create a data frame by using Spark session and how to basically use split function to split it based on a delimiter, and you have to understand what is the input, what is the output. You have to know what is print schema is all about, and then you have to know about explode function, right? And then you have to know about what is how to play with group by and how to perform the aggregate operations such as count, right? And also you can see how to sort the data based on which order and which function you have to use and how to limit the data. So it's going to test you in many ways. So that's why I really like this example. And whenever I take the interviews, this is the interview question that I'm going to ask always. And based on that, I'll take it forward, right? And be very thorough with this example. And there could be many such interview questions based on the similar concept, especially with the combination of split and explode. You will find a lot many, right? Any questions within this? So Lakshmi, there is a question from you, right? So can distinct be used here? So how will you use distinct here?
I was just asking just to remove the duplicates.
Remove the duplicates, but it's not about duplicates, right? So
Okay.
so
So
do we
repetition.
have duplicates here? We don't have duplicates here, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, in fact, we wanted to find out the repeating words, right?
Hmm.
So distinct is used to remove the duplicate words. Here we had to figure out the number of times each and every word is repeating. I think we can't use distinct here,
Yeah. Thank you.
right? Yeah. Okay, so now if you are clear with this, I'll ask you one more interview question. Again, these are all real-time interview questions which I have asked or which someone asked me, right? So if you are thorough with this, chances are very clear that you can take your own interview without depending on anybody else, and you will feel confident once you join the job also. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. So this data I have already shown it to you. So right now the interviewers are going to give this data set to you. I mean, in the live interview, they'll give you sample record and they'll just tell you what they're looking for. So let me show the data for you. So this is the data. If you can see here, you have okay. Before going to this, I have one more. Just a minute. I think this is the one that I want to talk. Yeah, so this is a simple one. So again, this is also one of the interview question which I generally ask when I conduct interviews. So if you can look at this data, this is the data that you have, and I want the output in this way. Let's say this is the input. Okay, somehow I can't. Okay, so I'll do one thing. I'll copy this. I'll paste it here. So this is the input file. Excuse me. So the output that I want from by using a data frame is nothing but this. I want output to be this way. So I want the output. So how to basically solve this? So let's see how to do it. So let's go back here. Maybe I will add a new cell. Percentage MD transfer markdown. Let's say word count. Let's say. So primarily the interview focus will be mostly on explode and split. So I have to be pretty perfect with that. So let's say percentage MD specifically about explode. So right. So let's upload this data first. The file name is input.json. I'm going to upload this. On the left hand side, click on data. So click on create table, and here you can give the name. Let's say December underscore data. So here you can start uploading your data. Click to browse, and input.json is the file. So select this path. On the left hand side, click on recents. Click on the top notebook and scroll down. So first step is to look at the data. So percentage fx space head. So this is the path, or this is the content. So let's first create a data frame. This is the JSON data. Hence, I'm going to say, let's say input underscore df equal to spark session dot read dot format is JSON dot load path. Make sure there are no spaces in load. A lot of people may give a space in load. That will not work. So that will fail. So no spaces should be there in the path before or after. So break it down into multiple lines, and this dot should go to the next line. And let's say display input df. So because this is kind of multi-line record or multi-line data, so I had to set option as multi-line as true. Let's do that. Dot option say multi-line set as true. Click on next line and run it again. So now have a look here. We have the data, and we have the data with this way. So we have the column names are name and value. Now let's look at the schema of the data frame. So let's take the data frame name. Dot print schema. Data frame name dot print schema. And see the column names are nothing but name, which is of string type, and values is nothing but array of string type, right? So but again, remember the output that we want. So we want the output in this way. So anyone can guess which one should we use to solve this problem? It's nothing but explode. So we are going to use explode now to solve this problem. So let's say final df equal to input underscore df dot select. We have to select both the columns now because have a look here. We have name in every row, right? So we have to select name column and values. So I'm going to do both name, and here on top of values I'm going to apply explode. Again, remember, explode can be applied only if the type is of array type, right? Here the values is of array type, hence I'm going to apply explode. If it is not array type, I can't use explode here. Remember that. So even the previous example also, we were applying explode only on the array type. If you can see here, we are applying explode on words because words was of array type. So now let's apply explode on top of values. Also, you can display this data frame. Have a look here, we have this data, but look at the column names. This is not what I'm looking for. Of course, it is very close to the output, but here the column name is also showing us values, the second column. So let's fix that. So here the column name is showing us call. I'm going to say dot alias, pick the column names to be back to values. That's fixed. Right? Again, very popular interview question. As I told, most of the hands-on questions in the Spark side will be based on split and explode. Okay, let's do one more example on split, one more example on explode so that you are clear. So this is what I'm going to use now. Now we can see that we have this data. This is students data. Basically, you have student names and their qualification. So there is a student called as Ram, and with respect to his education, he did BE and ME. So basically, Bachelor of Engineering and Master of Engineering. So you can see the qualification and then year also. There is another student called as Rohit. He did only BE. Now I'll take this data. Let's copy this. Here. So you have this data, and the output that I'm looking for is this. So I want only 3 columns in my output: name and qualification and year. Only 3. Let's take Ram. So Ram did BE in the year 2011. Again, Ram did ME in 2013. Now Rohit did BE the year 2010. Right? So, so this is the output that I'm looking for. This is the output that I'm looking for. So now, any guesses how to solve this problem? So this is slightly complicated, but it's worth learning it. So it's very important. In the projects also, we are going to use this quite a lot. So just explode is not enough. We have to slightly include one more step to get this output. I'll show it to you now. So let me say explode example 2. So let's upload this data first. So on the left hand side, click on data, create table. So December 2022 data. So to browse. So search for student data. So copy this path, and on the left hand side, click on recents, and the top, click on the top notebook. So scroll to the bottom. So first step is to look at the data, percentage FS space head. So now this is the data that we have. So data is good. So let's create a data frame. Student df equal to spark session dot read dot format. Format is JSON. Format is JSON. Dot load. Give the path. Again, see here when I copy pasted it, so accidentally I have the space added, right? Now if I try to create a data frame, it won't work. Let me show that. Now if I display the data frame, display student df, it won't work. You can see path must be absolute. So there is a space here. Just avoid this mistake. If you remove that space, it should work fine. But again, there is one more problem here. This is not the simple data, it's a nested data. Hence, we have to set multi-line as true. Only then it will work, right? So again, you have to remember how to or when to use explode. Guys, can you hear me? I'm audible.
Yes, it's
Can
breaking a
someone
bit.
confirm?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But
But now is it better?
yeah, it's good. But this has integer values, right? It's like the year.
Good, right? Okay. Just as we will see, we will see how to solve it. We will see how to solve it. Okay. So now let's include line, set it as true. Take it down into the next line. Run it again. Now have a look here. This is the data, and we are able to see the data frame. First step is to look at the schema, right? So let's take the data frame name and data frame name dot print schema. Now, so focus mostly on the education column where you have array, right? And the name column is of string type. And immediately when you see array type, you should get a hint that okay, I have to use explode here, because always remember you can use explode only if it is of array type, and we have it is of array type, right? Array of struct type, but we'll see how to handle this struct type slightly in the next step. But mostly focus on the array type now. Education is of array type, hence I'm going to apply explode on top of education column because it is array type. Let's do that. So import explode function. So from PySpark.sql.functions. So of course you don't need to do it again and again because you have already imported the explode function once in the previous cells. You don't need to do it, but as a good practice, I'm telling you here because so that you don't forget it. So let's create this explode df. Explode df equal to student df dot select. I want both the column, hence I'm going to select name. Then I'm going to apply explode function on top of education column. Let's run it again. Let's display the same. Display df. So have a look here, we have the data, but again, I want to fix this column name. So let's say I wanted to fix this column name, let's say education exploded, something like that. Dot yes, edu exploded. I'm giving a short name. Now the column name showing as edu exploded. Now again, have a look here. We have to basically get into the schema of it. Data frame name dot print schema. Now if you look here carefully, so after applying explode function, explode function, we got 3 records, right? Before applying explode, how many records were there? 2 records. After applying explode, we have got 3 records. So one important point which I'm going to tell here is after applying explode, the number of records will be equal to the number of elements in the exploded column. So the meaning of that statement is, if you look here, so how many records do we have in education column? So we have totally 3, right? Because we have B of Ram, ME of Ram, and then B of Rohit. So totally 1 plus 2 plus 1, 1 plus 1 plus 1. So totally 3. So after applying explode, we should have 3 records. right? So let's go back to the previous example just to talk about the number of rows here. So we were applying explode function on values column. So how many records were there in values column? Totally 3, A, B, C. Right. Hence, finally, you are also seeing the same number of records. So remember that. So to figure out the final number of records, you can think about the number of elements that you have in exploded column. That should be giving you a hint. Okay. Now coming back to the point here, we are one step closer to the final output, but not yet there. So we have applied explode on array and we got this output. Now if you can see here, we have struct type. So how to work on struct type so that we can get this output, right? So this is where I'm going to use one interesting operator called as dot star operator. So let's use that. Final df equal to explode df dot select. I want name because look at the output. I want the name, so name column is also there, and I want these two columns, qualification and then year. These are not at the same level as that of name. So to bring into the same level as that of name, this is where I'm going to use edu exploded dot star. Let's display the same df. Now you got the output. Now you can see name, qualification, then year. Name, qualification, and then year. Now you have to look at the final schema of the data frame. So final df dot schema. Now you can see that we got all the individual columns. So you have name of string type, qualification of string type, and year is of long type, right? So and is this matching your expected output? Yes, it is. Name, qualification, year. You should have 3 records. Name, qualification, year, and you have 3 records. RAM record should be 2, right? For BE and MB, right? So now you can see here. So one very important concept again. So use explode element or if the column is of array type, and use basically when I say dot star, it's nothing but the column name dot star. So here we have used dot star operator, right? And you have to use this only if it is of struct type. Here edu explorer is of struct type, hence I'm able to get the data. So use dot star if the element or column is of struct type. These are very important concepts, especially in the projects. We will do this quite a lot, right? And finally, you should have all the columns at the same level. You can see that name, qualification, year, they are all at the same level. So remember this point. So always apply explode on the array type, and if you don't have array type, get the elements into the array type if possible by using split. But in this example, we haven't used split, right? Have you used split anywhere? We haven't used split. So again, you have to look at the data carefully first, right? What kind of data that you have and whether we can apply split function or not. So basically you have to use print schema quite a lot to get the exact input on output details so that you can apply appropriate functions. And the number of final elements in the final output is actually equal to the number of unique elements that you have in the exploded column. So here we have done explode on education column where we have 3 records, hence we are getting finally 3 records. Any questions till here? Anybody have any questions? These are very important examples, and by the way, all these are real-time interviews questions. Some of them are asked by me, some of them are asked to me by someone else, right? But these are all real-time interview questions. Okay, I think this should be enough. This is a very important session. Hence, I don't want to overload with plenty of content. So this should be enough for today. I'll share this notebook. Keep it as reference before your interviews. This will definitely help you. And more importantly, you should practice. Only then you can deliver it in the interviews. Okay, before closing the session, any questions anybody have? And one announcement. So as we have missed some sessions, so to cover it up, I want to take sessions this Saturday and Sunday also. So just be prepared. If you miss it out, you will get the recording. Okay. So any questions before closing today's session? I'll share this notebook with you. So you can download it, file, export. Let me export in HTML format. And whatever data sets that I've used, also I'm going to upload in my in today's folder. Okay, you can refer to that. Okay, so Nikita, I think you already have the access to the Google Drive, right? If not, please put your email ID in the chat box. I'll give the access. Okay, folks, let's catch up tomorrow then. See you. Bye.